The through line emerges. If you were listening to Monday's and Tuesday's show, I talked about how I'm going to be launching a brand new thing and how I got to this through the history of where I started, where I'm going next, and now where we are today, or soon to be today. Is that over the last, God knows, 10, 12, 15 years, 20 years, I've created a ton of content. Podcasts, blogs, videos. I think this is video 900 and something or other. Tons and tons and tons of content. And because I was always interested in the future, in the intersection of the future and technology, which is innovation, and I've wanted to become more and more innovative, the way to become more and more innovative is to take the core discipline and basically expose that core discipline to all sorts of other disciplines, to philosophy, to physics, to art, to this, to that. So you basically expose yourself to all these other disciplines, you expose yourself to all these other kinds of people, and you go in and you try to understand how can this person or how can this discipline help to create something new by pulling some of those bits of discipline in. And then I ended up becoming polymathic, where I'm interested in absolutely everything. There's nothing I am not interested in. You put anything in front of me, and I'm interested in it. Did you know that I actually had? So have you ever gone to Singapore, and you ever had durian? Durian is this fruit which is incredibly smelly. It smells awful. It's like garbage. Some people love the smell, but for a typical person like myself, I probably would hate something like that, right? But my mind is open. My mind is open, not because of my background in innovation, but it's because of I always want to experience new things, because I can take those new things and pull them in to whatever I'm doing. Part of my polymathic self is that I want to expose myself to everything. I want to expose myself to new things. I want to have these kinds of experiences that people might not have had. And it was one of my colleagues, when I was working in Singapore for a little while, I spent a couple of weeks there, or maybe 4 or 5 times. I would say, let's go try something new. Let's go something like, and I would say, I want to try some durian. I've never had durian before. And she'd looked at me and said, "What's wrong with you? You're weird. You're not like any other American I know. No American I know has ever come to me and said, I'd like to try some durian." And I'm like, yeah, well, hey, I'm different. I want to try new things. When I'm in a new place, I love trying new things. I don't want to eat, like, when I go to Hawaii, I'm not going to have Cheesecake Factory. I'm going to go to a local Hawaiian place. When I'm in Japan, I'm going to go to a Japanese place. No matter where I am, I want to experience the cuisine and the culture of the place I'm in. I don't want to be comfortable in an American style whatever. I'm not going to eat burgers in Greece. I'm going to have gyro or souvlaki or whatever street food I've happened to find, moussaka. So I want to experience new things, and that's part of who I am. I'm the kind of guy who looks at all these things and wants to experience them and bring them into my life so that it can help me create new things. So she took me to supposedly the best durian stand in Singapore, bar none, apparently. And she goes, "I'm just going to sit in the car while you talk to this guy because I can't stand the smell." So I got out and I started talking to this guy, and he didn't speak perfect English, but he spoke English well enough. And I said, I'd like to try some of this stuff. So I tried it, and the smell, the moment I got out of the car, the stench was horrific. I felt like I was going to tear up. That's how bad it was. And we were in a stand where we were surrounded by durians, and he's like pointing out the different kinds of durians, and I can barely breathe because of the smell, right? But I thought to myself, okay, I've gone this far. I'm going to go all the way through. I'm going to get it done. So he says, here, how about this one? And it wasn't too expensive, so I thought, hey, sure, let me try it. So I gave him the money, and he cut me some. And I'm biting into it. I'm thinking, I'm going to taste the worst possible thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. And you know what? The closest thing that I can describe it as being is leek pudding. So imagine if you take a leek, like that green vegetable that looks a bit like a giant green onion. If you take that leek and you chop it up and you cook it and you put it into like a pudding, like almost like a vanilla pudding, but not, very light on the vanilla. Very, very light on the vanilla. So you take the leek and you cook it and you put it into the vanilla pudding and you smush it up, and it had a consistency a bit like really stiff pudding, right? So I'm trying this and I'm like, it smells awful, but it tastes not bad. I wouldn't go out of my way for it, but it's not as bad as it smells. And I thought to myself, wow. People cannot stand the smell of it, but they're keeping themselves away from this taste. And it wasn't an amazing taste sensation, but I'm sure some people love it. And when I was on my way home in the taxi, the cab driver was regaling me with stories of this type of durian and that type of durian, and how he loves durian and la la la. And it was amazing. It was a hugely eye-opening experience for me, because I love to try new things. And I think that's exactly what we need to do. So over the last 14, 15 years or something like that, I have been amassing blog post after blog post after video after video after podcast on all different kinds of topics, because, like I said, as a polymath, I'm interested in absolutely everything. And I'm interested in absolutely everything, so I can possibly maybe take a little nugget of this or take a little nugget of that to help me create something new. It's kind of like you cannot output stuff unless you have input. And all of this stuff, the reasoning, the experiencing, the talking to people, is all input into the creative process to put out. And I realized a few months ago that I had over 1,600 blog posts. I have almost 1,000 videos. I have almost 1,000 podcasts. And I thought to myself, okay, all of this stuff that I've got going on seems totally chaotic. And then when I read about the through line, I thought to myself, okay, there's got to be some way of taking everything that I've done, all of this discussion in all these different topics on all different kinds of things, and pulling it together in some way to create some coherent vision of what I am or what I should be known for. So I've been spending the last couple of months taking those 1,600 blog posts, taking those thousands of podcasts and audio and writings and stuff like that, and pulling them together into a cohesive vision. And that's what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.